You thought the Boondocks was just a cartoon? Just jokes, satire, and over-the-top black culture references? This show wasn't just comedy, it was a full-blown media literacy course dressed in animation, and you probably missed it. Because while most people were laughing at Riley's antics or Granddad's mess, the Boondocks was quietly exposing the game. It broke down how TV, music, and media have been strategically used to keep black folks distracted, divided, and disempowered, especially when it comes to money. From episodes mocking Bette's programming to the parody of rap culture and reality TV, the show held up a mirror. It told us, you're not just watching this stuff, you're being shaped by it. And when your mindset is molded by manipulation, your money will always follow that dysfunction. That's the quiet part most shows won't say. But Aaron McGruder, he put it in every frame. So in this video, we're going to break it all down. How the Boondocks expose media's role in keeping black communities poor. How characters like Huey, Riley, and Granddad each represent different layers of that control. And most importantly, how you can stop being programmed and start reclaiming power. Because if you don't understand the game, you're probably still playing it on the losing side. Let's get into it. Huey Freeman, the conscious lens you ignored. If there's one character in the Boondocks who saw it all, who really got it, it's Huey Freeman. Huey wasn't just a revolutionary for the sake of rebellion. He wasn't angry without aim. Huey is written as the conscious observer, the kid who saw through the fog, through the media manipulation, through the cultural chaos. And he wasn't just watching TV, he was decoding it. Almost every time something wild happened on the show, whether it was Riley worshipping a rapper or BET airing another low-quality destructive program, Huey would pause, side-eye, call it out. That was Aaron McGruder using Huey as your conscience. Not just a character, a challenge. Huey often broke the fourth wall, metaphorically. His dialogue wasn't just for the people in the show, it was for you. He'd drop a quote, a critique, or a truth bomb so sharp you'd have to pause the episode. He'd question what people were watching, how they were thinking, and who was benefiting from that mental diet. And that's the point most viewers missed. Huey wasn't just smart, he was conscious. He understood that the media wasn't just reflecting culture, it was directing it. Who gets shown as powerful? Who gets marked? What images of blackness get promoted on the biggest platforms? And how do those images affect how black people see themselves and how others treat them? Huey constantly warned that if you don't control your inputs, you'll never control your outcomes. But here's the truth. Wealth starts in the mind, and so does poverty. If all you consume is content that glorifies spending, flexing, violence, and clout, you'll move through life mimicking those behaviors. Even worse, you'll start believing that's all you can be. And that's why Huey matters. He wasn't just a buzzkill in the show, he was the only one awake. He was trying to save his family, his friends, his community, and even you, the viewer, from being swallowed up by a media system designed to keep you poor, distracted, and emotional. But did anyone listen? Most didn't, and that's the tragic brilliance of the Boondocks. It showed you the truth and dared you to laugh at it instead of learning from it. If this is hitting already, pause real quick and hit that subscribe button. We break down the game behind the culture, the system, and the stories they don't want you to see every single week. This ain't just content, this is Black Wealth Uncut. Let's keep going, it gets deeper. Riley Freeman, the product of media programming. If Huey was the conscience of the Boondocks, Riley was the consequence. Riley Freeman isn't a bad kid, he's a mirror, a reflection of what happens when media becomes your mentor and the screen becomes your father figure. At just 8 years old, Riley walks, talks, and thinks like a full-grown rapper straight out of a mixtape. He idolizes gangsters, obsesses over clout, brags about guns and chains, and sees emotional vulnerability as weakness. But here's the catch. None of that is who he really is. It's all learnt behavior. And the Boondocks makes that crystal clear. Riley was raised on rap videos, action flicks, and fake fame. Everything he imitates, the guns, the girls, the ego, was taught to him through a carefully curated media diet. He didn't grow up in the hood. He's not a product of struggle. He's a product of messaging. That's why Riley's so important, because he's not just one kid in a cartoon. He's thousands of real black boys who get more hours of hip-hop and reality TV than fatherhood and financial literacy. Let's be real. Media doesn't just entertain, it educates. If a kid watches 4 hours of music videos a day, where everyone who looks like him is either balling, shooting, or womanizing, guess what his vision of success becomes? That's not an accident, that's programming. Riley mimics that world not because he's dumb, but because he's brilliant. His brain is absorbing exactly what it's supposed to. And the scary part? He's doing it better than most adults. That's why he walks around quoting rappers, idolizing fake beef, and spending imaginary money on real flexes. Boondocks doesn't present Riley as evil. It presents him as a victim of a media machine that profits off his confusion. He thinks masculinity means aggression. He thinks money comes fast and without work. He thinks fame equals power. And every time Huey tries to correct him, Riley shrugs it off, because the programming feels more real than the truth. That's the tragedy. But it's also the warning. If we don't intervene, if we don't reprogram boys like Riley, the media will do it for us. And it won't teach wealth, love, leadership, or ownership. It'll teach clout, chaos, and consumerism. Because the screen doesn't care about your future, it only cares about your attention. And the more distracted you are, the less dangerous you become. Let's talk about one of the most iconic episodes in the Boondocks, the Gangsterlicious arc. Now on the surface, it's hilarious. A closeted rapper hiding behind hypermasculinity and fake gangster clout. But underneath the comedy is something much deeper. A brutal takedown of celebrity culture and how it distracts black audiences from real freedom. Gangsterlicious represents the trap, literally and figuratively. He's rich, famous, idolized, and completely powerless. Why? Because everything about him is a performance. He's not really tough, he's not really strategic, he's not even secure in who he is. But none of that matters, because the image sells. And the image is what Riley, and millions like him, fall in love with. The show uses Gangsterlicious to show us how much of celebrity culture is built on smoke and mirrors. It's about looking rich, acting tough, staying viral, but never actually being free. That's the game, because if black youth spend all their time chasing celebrity status, they'll never chase ownership. If all you want is to be seen, you'll never build something that lasts when the lights are off. Look around today, the same cycle continues. You've got influencers driving rented cars, rappers fronting with label advances, and clout chasers doing anything for a check. Meanwhile, the real power sits behind the scenes. The label owns the masters. The network owns the content. The sponsors own the platform. And the culture, it just dances in front of the camera for free. The Boondocks was ahead of its time. It said fame is a leash if you don't own what you're doing. Gangsterlicious ends up exposed, humiliated, and alone, not because he wasn't famous, but because he'd never transformed that fame into freedom. Here's the lesson. Saying freedom, visibility, ownership, cloud power. Wealth comes from ownership, from creating what you sell, from controlling what you distribute, from deciding the terms of your labor. The Boondocks didn't just clown celebrity culture, it decoded it. And it showed how it's often used as a tool to distract black minds from building real wealth. Because while we're watching Who's Beefing on IG, they're buying land. While we're streaming a diss track, they're negotiating back-end points. While we're debating who's the realist, they're cashing checks from content we don't own. The show was warning us, don't trade your brilliance for likes, don't mistake popularity for power, and most importantly, don't get so caught up in the character on screen that you forget to become the author behind your own story. Now let's talk about Granddad, Robert Jebediah Freeman. He's the type of character a lot of us recognize. Old school, hard-headed, proud, but also deeply misled. At first glance, Granddad seems harmless. He's funny, stuck in his ways, and a bit out of touch. But the Boondocks uses his character to show something deeper, the way older generations were also manipulated by media, and how that mindset still affects black wealth today. Granddad chases status. He buys into scams. He falls for hype, whether it's soul food restaurants with no business plan, timeshare cons, or reality TV nonsense. He's from the era of, if it's on TV, it must be true. And that's not his fault, that's conditioning. Back in his day, mass media wasn't optional, it was gospel. News, sitcoms, movies, all shaped how millions of black folks saw the world and their place in it. And unfortunately, that often meant seeing themselves as sidekicks, clowns, criminals, or commodities. Grandad never unlearned that. Instead of building something new, he chases symbols of success he saw growing up. The Cadillac, the flashy clothes, the proximity to whiteness. He's not building a legacy, he's trying to look like he made it. That's why the Boondocks makes him fall for scams and money traps. It's not just for laughs, it's a critique. Sing. Age doesn't equal wisdom if you never unlearn the lies. This is key because a lot of people think the wealth gap in black communities is just a young person's problem. It's not. It's generational miseducation. If your parents were taught to consume instead of invest, if your grandparents were told to work hard but never own, then what did you inherit? Grandad shows us the danger of mistaking survival for success. He worked, he endured, but he never built systems. He passed down hustle, not holdings. And he's still too prideful to take advice from Huey, the one person who actually sees the big picture, the tragedy. Grandad represents millions of elders who never questioned the media that raised them and now pass those blind spots down as tradition. The lesson: wisdom isn't just age. It's the ability to unlearn what kept you broke. Because if you don't challenge what raised you, you might raise the next generation to repeat it. Now we're getting to the core of it, the mindset. The Boondocks doesn't just take aim at individuals, it goes after system, especially the system that teaches black audiences to consume endlessly but never create intentionally. In episode after episode, the show highlights how media culture has turned black communities into professional consumers. Watch the shows, buy the merch, stream the music, imitate the lifestyle, flex what you bought even if it broke you. Sound familiar? Whether it's Riley obsessing over rapper brands, Grandad chasing get-rich-quick schemes, or entire episodes mocking black entertainment television, the Boondocks is screaming one message: they trained you to buy, not to build. That's the media poverty mindset. It's not just about being broke, it's about being conditioned to stay that way by glorifying quick cash instead of long-term planning, promoting clout over content, feeding you entertainment, not empowerment. Let's bring this to the real world. Look at Hollywood. How many of the movies featuring black actors are actually owned by black creators? Look at music. How many rappers own their masters? How many producers get equity? Look at advertising. How much of black culture is sold back to us by people who don't look like us, don't live like us, and don't reinvest in us? The answer? Very little. We're the energy, the trendsetters, the voice. But too often, we're not the owners. And that's what the Boondocks wanted us to see. Even when we're the center of the culture, we're often excluded from the wealth it creates. Why? Because we've been programmed to consume our value instead of monetize it. Here's what that looks like. Spending $300 0 cents on designer belts instead of building business credit. Streaming every new album, but never studying how to launch your own IP. Quoting TV shows, but not owning any content that pays you back. And this isn't just about money, it's about agency. The more we consume and depend on media to define us, the less control we have over our image, our narrative, and ultimately our economics. The Boondocks was trying to flip that switch. It wasn't saying stop watching TV. It was saying start paying attention to who profits from what you watch. And that's the pivot we need today more than ever, because we live in the most media-saturated age in history. Our phones feed us content 24/7, and every second of that content is shaping how we think, spend, without hustle, and dream. So if the media you're absorbing only teaches you to consume, then guess what you'll never learn? Creation, ownership, wealth. The truth? Creation equals wealth. Consumption equals dead. You don't have to become a media mogul tomorrow, but you do have to stop letting every platform define your value. What am I learning from what I'm watching? Who profits from this content? Am I feeding my growth or just killing time? Because until we flip the mindset from viewer to visionary, from consumer to creator, we'll keep having the same conversations, just with better lighting. The Boondocks was a warning, not just a comedy. has said, wake up, the media's feeding you broke habits, a beat and a laugh track. But now that you see it, the choice is yours. You're watching the show or start writing your own. Now that the curtain's been pulled back, now that you've seen how the Boondocks exposed media as a quiet trap, keeping black folks poor, distracted and dependent, the real question becomes, what do we do now? Because pointing fingers at Bet or clowning Gangsterlicious is easy. But transformation, that takes action, daily, intentional action. Let's start with the most powerful media source you control right now, your algorithm. Every scroll, every click, every like tells the system what to show you next. And whether you realize it or not, your feed is shaping your focus, your mood, and eventually your money. So the first step, control your algorithm. Audit your inputs like your life depends on it, because it does. If your YouTube, TikTok, or IG feed is filled with drama, flex culture, fake beefs, and loud nothingness, that's what your brain is being trained to value. That's what your goals will slowly start to mirror. But if you shift even 20% of your daily content toward education, strategy, and wealth building, your mindset will follow. The next step, choose creators over manipulators. Not all media is harmful. Not all creators are sellouts. There are black minds out here pushing real game podcasts, books, documentaries, lectures, stories, scripts, strategies. People creating content designed to wake you up, not put you to sleep. Find them, follow them, support them. Subscribe to black-owned media platforms. Read from authors who challenge the status quo. Stream content that teaches you to build and take it further. Don't just absorb content, start creating it. You don't need 1 million followers. You don't need perfect lighting. You just need intention. Share what you learn. Document what you're building. Tell your story from your lens, not the one sold to you by cable news or viral chaos. Because here's the truth, the Boondocks taught without saying it directly. The antidote to media manipulation is media creation. So that's how we flip the script. Thank you. That's how we reclaim our narrative. That's how we move from surviving the system to rewriting it. And let's be clear, this isn't just about media. This is about mental economics. The moment you start controlling what goes into your mind, you'll naturally start shifting what comes out of your life. That's the real wealth. The final lesson, financial freedom starts with mental freedom. And mental freedom starts when you choose not to be programmed, but to be a programmer. Your screen doesn't have to trap you. It can be the tool that frees you, but only if you use it with purpose. There, let's bring it full circle. The Boondocks wasn't just edgy TV. It was a coded survival manual disguised as satire. It showed us how black culture is shaped, sold, and sometimes sabotaged by the media we consume. And it warned us about the dangers of idolizing entertainers without ownership, the traps of consuming without creating, the generational cost of never questioning what we watch. It used Huey as the conscious voice, Riley as the cautionary tale, Grandad as the generational blind spot, and us, the audience, as the final piece. Because this show wasn't just about them. It was always about you. And here's the part that hit hardest. They don't need change when your screen does the job for them. If you're still glued to programs that poison your progress, if you're still worshipping wealth, that doesn't come with ownership. If you're still thinking entertainment is just harmless fun, then you're not free yet. But now you know. And so what are you going to do with it? Drop your biggest takeaway in the comments. Subscribe if you're ready for more Decoded Game every week. And share this with someone who's still watching the wrong things because the system hopes they never question it. This is Black Wealth Uncut. And we're not just watching content. We're reading between the frames. We're decoding the hidden game. We're reclaiming the power. Let's build something they can't program. See you in the next episode.